Part 9. The Koi Fairy Wife is Sweet as Honey, Love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Sushao Zhaji. Chapter 81. Just when the silver team was enjoying the barbecue and beer snacks, the guests of the gold team finally bypassed the beautiful villa and saw their house. Suzai rubbed his eyes in disbelief, and then took a closer look. Not a hallucination. In front of this old, simple, small hut that was built very perfunctory at first glance. Suzai glanced at the two teammates and asked uncertainly, Jinli said earlier that our house is right behind the small villa. Peng Fei was also shocked, not bad. He couldn't help but took 2 steps forward, and sure enough, in front of the small hut, he saw a small wooden sign with 5 big characters on it. Exclusive to the gold team. 3 people. Ha 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 ha, I just knew that the program crew might play this kind of contrasting operation, but I never imagined that the director could be so maddened. I thought the program team would build an ordinary cement house or a wooden house, but it turned out to be a thatched house. I lost. Golden team, lagging behind and miserable for a while, always lagging behind and miserable all the time. What the hell? Suzai's mentality of being a Buddha was rekindled by this thatched cottage. She remembered what she had just seen, sitting on the lawn of the beautiful villa and grilling, like the 3 members of the silver team who were on vacation, and couldn't help shouting, "People live in villas, so we will live here. I want to protest. Where are the people from the show team?" Suzai was about to turn around, but he suddenly shouted, "There is a wooden sign here." Suzai walked over and saw the wooden sign that stood up that read, "The winner lives in a villa, and the loser lives in a thatched hut. Consciously, if you disagree, I will tell you the truth at 7 o'clock in the evening." 3 people. 7 o'clock at night? After doing this, Suzai somehow remembered that he was recording a show. Don't be too impulsive. Just a few hours. She would like to see what the so-called truth is about in the evening. Why are other people's silver team faster than their own side every time? She took a deep breath and said, "Forget it, let's go in first. It was said on the mission card earlier that we have dinner in the room. Let's ask what the situation is in the evening." Peng Fei was not as resentful as she was. He was not so squeamish, and even thought it was novel to live in a thatched cottage. It's just, these 2 days, Peng Fei has fully realized the sinister routine of the show team. The only thing he's worried about is, what kind of dinner would be prepared in such a shabby thatched hut? Barbecue feasts are not to be expected, at least. Home cooking should have, right? Squeak. The door of the thatched cottage was pushed open. Sunlight enters the dim room. The 3 of them saw the situation inside clearly, and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Although it looked very simple, the house was obviously cleaned carefully and was very clean. It's just too clean. Short name, nothing. This door should correspond to an empty living room. Except for a wooden table, there is no other superfluous thing to be found. Going inside, there are 2 rooms, each room has a bed and a neatly folded floral quilt. Peng Fei muttered, "We have 3 people, only 2 beds. No, what about the agreed dinner?" "It's here." Yes, weak voice came from the next room. 10 seconds later, the 3 looked at the small kitchen and fell silent. The Koi Fairy Wife is Sweet as Honey, Love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Sushao Zhaji. Chapter 82. "No, that's all for our dinner." He pointed to the kitchen, which had the same style as the whole thatched house, and said uncertainly, "In the small room, which is barely called a kitchen, there is only a large stove that needs to be artificially lit, an iron pot. On the wooden table next to it, a handful of fresh green vegetables, a bag of white noodles, and some necessary seasonings." Peng Fei also widened his eyes. He murmured, "Isn't it so tricky?" Suzai gave up thinking. She said a little tiredly, "I don't care, I'll go to the room to rest. whoever of you likes to eat can do it yourself. After saying that, he turned around and walked out. He and Peng Fei looked at each other. I'm a little hungry, Peng Fei said. He was vigilant, I will never cook. These thick smoke and oil fumes will damage my well-maintained skin. Peng Fei. He glanced at He's slender figure with indescribable words, and gave up struggling. Okay, I'll come. After he finished speaking, he rolled up his sleeves and squatted down, finding matches and wood to make a fire. 5 minutes later. Thick black smoke rose into the sky. Suzy ran over with a loud cough. What are you two doing? Burning the house. Peng Fei. He said at a loss, I just want to make a fire and cook some noodles. Suzy held back her anger. Then what? Peng Fei coughed dryly. Then it becomes what you see. What a mess. It doesn't burn at all. He cursed angrily in his heart. In the end, several people still couldn't eat the noodles. Because Suzy was determined not to allow Peng Fei to touch the kitchen again. So the three of them sat on the wooden stools in the living room, silently looking at the bright and beautiful little villa in front of them. A gust of wind blew, and the rich barbecue aroma floated into the nose of the three of them. Cuckoo. The three of you look at me, I look at you, and each sees the embarrassment on the other's face. No, I can't help it. Peng Fei stood up suddenly, staring at the villa in front of him with a fierce face. Why do we sit here starving in desolation, and people enjoy barbecues like that? I'm not convinced, he exclaimed. He looked at him with a ferocious look that was ready to rob at any time, and asked expectantly, so, you want to go? Of course I'm going to eat. Peng Fei looked righteous. Peng Fei glanced at the two of them. How about you? He rubbed his stomach and shook his head a little painfully. I won't go, the barbecue heat is too high, I'm afraid of gaining weight. Adhere to the exquisite character design and not collapse. Suzy glanced at him with relief, turned to look at Peng Fei, and snorted, isn't it just skipping a meal? You can't even stand this little thing? If I don't go, I won't bow to Team Silver. Ha 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 ha, I really thought that Peng Fei was going to grab food, but you were going to eat rice or your tendons and 8-pack abs all for viewing. I see. He withered, why do I have to live so rough as a woman? Why is the gold team always so pitiful, but I just want to laugh, ha 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 ha. Suzy, starved to death, so hungry that I hugged myself and cried, and I definitely wouldn't eat the silver team in one bite. Sit and wait for the fragrance. Sit and wait for the fragrance. Sit and wait for the fragrance. Peng Fei glanced at the two teammates, saw that neither of them wanted to move, and stood up by himself. Okay, then you stay here, I'll go. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Koi Fairy Wife is sweet as honey, love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Su Xiao Zheji. Chapter 83. By the time Peng Fei walked to the place where Team Bian was grilling, the three of them had almost eaten. Jin Li felt her chubby belly, biting the straw and drinking juice to relieve her tiredness. Seeing Peng Fei, she greeted him with a smile. Have you seen the new house? Isn't it a surprise? Peng Fei. He muttered, it's more or less frightened. He looked at the three of them and asked sincerely, we only have clear water noodles, and we have to make our own fire. I can't make a fire. Can I eat some food here? Anyway, since there was too much to eat here, Jin Li nodded cheerfully, of course there is no problem. Peng Fei was overjoyed, and he said quickly, thank you, Jin Li, you really are a kind little fairy. Peng Fei was really hungry. He reached out and grabbed a large handful of ingredients, chatting with a few people while baking. What test have you all encountered? How can it be so fast? There's nothing that can't be said, Jin Li told him. Peng Fei scratched his head inexplicably. It's the same as ours, how did you come here? That's how it came directly. Jin Li spread her hands. Peng Fei glanced at her and shook his head. Don't lie to me, you must have some special strategy. Anyway, the level has already passed, so tell me, let me lose and understand. Jin Li sighed. Why doesn't anyone believe me when I tell the truth now? I really did it directly. Peng Fei thought she didn't want to say it, and he wasn't the kind of idiot who likes to ask the truth and reluctantly, so he changed the subject and began to complain about the program group vigorously. The 3 members of Team Bean just listened to his pervertedness in the swearing program group, such as the few eggs that have not been found so far, and the bald boy who is more perverted than eggs. He actually asked us why he came to this island to work as a staff member. Lan Ting smiled and asked curiously, why? Peng Fei looked sad and indignant. The correct answer is that life is too boring. If he doesn't find something for himself to do, he will go home and inherit tens of billions of property. Team Silver, ft. They looked at Peng Fei with pity. It was really hard for you. After eating a dozen pairs of grilled wings and several strings of seafood and greens in one go, Peng Fei finally touched his stomach with satisfaction. Ah, you are like heaven here, he sighed with admiration. Can I bring something back for them to eat? After Peng Fei had enough to eat, he thought of his 2 teammates who shared the same illness. Although they said no to it before, Peng Fei consciously wanted to keep his wealth and honor unforgettable, so he proposed to pack some ingredients and go back. You can do it yourself. Jin Li waved his hand. She has always been very talkative when she is well fed. Watching Peng Fei leave with the bag, Jin Li couldn't help lying down and sighed, oh, if only there was a pool of clear water for me to bubble now. Lan Ting is puzzled. The villa will have a swimming pool and a bathtub in the future. Jin Li shook his head and muttered softly, that's different. What she really wanted was to become a prototype and swim freely in the water. But in her current situation, she can't even change her original shape. Moreover, now that the program is being recorded, where can she happily let her play with water? Jin Li was inexplicably worried. And the other side. The 2 who were lying in the thatched hut and staring, suddenly smelled a faint fragrance. The scent is extremely strong and domineering. It penetrates into the tip of the nose and provokes greedy worms. Almost instantly, they are shocked. The koi fairy wife is sweet as honey, love from the koi goddess. Author, Su Xiao Zheji. Chapter 84. He couldn't help getting up from the bed, walked out of the room, and saw what Peng Fei was carrying. Peng Fei, did you mean barbecue? Peng Fei smiled cheerfully, yes, I thought you didn't eat anything, so I brought you some back. He looked at the bag on the table with a tangled face. No, this calorie is too high, I can't eat it. Peng Fei looked at him with great puzzlement. What does it matter to eat once in a while? I'm afraid of gaining more meat and exercising more. I'm also a fitness trainer, and I usually control my diet, but I'm not so harsh on myself every day, right? He opened the bag and said, if you don't eat barbecue, there is still some fruit here. He rushes over, I eat fruit. Peng Fei looked at another room again, yi. After a long time, Su Zi's dull voice came over, I don't want to eat it, I said I won't eat anything from Team Bean. Hearing this, Peng Fei sighed, okay, I put the things here. If you are too hungry, come and eat by yourself. The audience started betting. Oh, at the moment of barbecue, there is no such thing as weight loss or morality, I bet 10 minutes later, the 2 will be really fragrant. 10 minutes is too long, I bet 5 minutes. Ha 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 ha, I can still think of my teammates after eating and drinking. Peng Fei is really warm. Damn, I just ordered barbecue again, this show makes people fat. Me too. I was eating while watching the live broadcast, my stomach was already full, but my mouth kept wanting to eat. Fortunately I didn't watch this at night. He did not live up to the expectations of the audience. It would be fine if he insisted on not eating in the first place. Now that you have started eating, as the audience said, the steaming, browned barbecue is right in front of you, and the domineering aroma makes the sweet fruit instantly dull. Eat or not? He endured and endured again. In the end, he gave up and looked at the table with a painful expression. I'll just eat a bunch. Ha 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 here. So fragrant. One string is impossible. After eating this string, there will be the next string. Just eat one bunch, eat another bunch, come another bunch, the last bunch, add another bunch. What about Suzy? Ha ha ha, I found that Peng Fei was really bad originally. The two of them had to endure so far apart and past by now it's good, and it's right in front of the two of them the degree of suffering is x10. Suzy was lying on the bed tossing and turning. The fragrant smell lingers on the tip of the nose for a long time. Even if it is, the sound insulation of the thatched cottage is not good. So she could hear the sound of Hiya unpacking, the sound of the other party chewing the barbecue, and the occasional, low-pitched sound of inhalation and admiration. The scent became more and more appealing. 2 minutes later, Suzy, who was full of black air, stepped out of the door with heavy steps. Hiya glanced at her with a clear face, and reached out and pushed the skewer in front of him. Come on, a skewer. Suzy sat down with a painful expression, picked up the skewer, and bit down hard as if venting her anger. As if the bite was not a skewer, but the integrity of his own passing away. Will I, Suzy, eat food from the silver team? I'm starving and I won't eat a bite. Oh, it's delicious. It was a completely unexpected development. Ha 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 ha, really fragrant. Really fragrant. Really fragrant. After the update is completed, the live broadcast of the Golden Team will be publicly executed tomorrow. Big darlings, please vote for Gao Lengzi. He has been stuck in more than 50 for several days. Let's see if we can make it to the top 50 on the weekly list. Mua. The Koi fairy wife is sweet as honey. Love from the Koi goddess. Author, Su Xiao Zhaji. Chapter 85. After the three people of Team Silver packed their things, they rested on the lounge chairs in the pavilion. It is said to be a gazebo, but it is actually a large wooden frame covered with unknown vines, and there are lovely pink flowers on the fallen branches and leaves. At this moment, the sun has also gone down, leaving only a layer of warm orange light still nostalgic in the sky. Jin Li ate a little bit just now, and now she is lying lazily, wanting to sleep. Lan Ting suddenly said, the program team said that there will be a special event at 7 o'clock in the evening. Don't you want to punish us again? Lu Qingyuan remembered the scene of the horror movie on the first night and kept silent. Well, don't worry. Jin Li half closed her eyes, covered her lips and yawned a little. It must be a good thing. How did you know? Lan Ting asked curiously. Jin Li opened her eyes, and squinted her while leaning on the reclining chair. Intuition, do you believe it? Jin Li said this sentence without any hope. Because during this time in the world, she has fully understood that this country does not believe in the existence of gods. But Lan Ting said, I believe it. Jin Li looked at her suspiciously. Lan Ting said with a smile, Jin Li is so lucky. I saw it when I was looking for eggs. It's not surprising that I can feel good things happen at 7 o'clock, right? Jin Li's eyes suddenly widened, and the drowsiness disappeared. She sat up from the chair with a jerk, and looked at Lan Ting with bright eyes. Lan Ting, you really have vision. Lan Ting. She couldn't help laughing. During this time, she has fully appreciated the lovely attributes of the little fairy in front of her, but the other party can always bring her even bigger surprises. She couldn't help screaming in her heart, how can you be so cute? I really want to kiss and cuddle. Jin Li is also happy in her heart. She felt that this was the first human being in the world to believe in herself like this, and she deserved praise. But there is nothing suitable at hand, After thinking about it, Jin Lee said, "In this way, after the show is over, I will draw you a lucky charm with my own hands, which is even better than the one in the previous lottery." Ha 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 ha, as expected, my peer is still as narcissistic as ever. Jin Lee, anyone who praises me will accept all of them according to the order, never with modesty. It's another good luck charm. How much does Jin Lee like to send charms? I reposted the Weibo, but unfortunately I missed it. I don't care if I'm lucky or not, but as long as I remember that this was made by the little fairy Jin Lee, I really want it. Envy Lanting, being able to appear on the show, face to face with Jin Lee, and get a lucky charm made by Jin Lee herself. I'm really sour. At this time, Lu Qingyuan, who was sitting on the side, suddenly said, "Can I have one too?" Huh. Hearing this, Jin Lee turned her head sideways, looked at him carefully, and shook her head. "You don't need it." Lu Qingyuan frowned. "Why?" Jin Lee said, "Your luck is good enough, you will definitely be rich and happy in the future, and you will have no worries. Good luck charms are just icing on the cake, and they are not very useful." Lu Qingyuan. He held his forehead a little helplessly, and said in his heart, "Do you really just want good luck when you take me?" Ha 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 ha, distressed Lu Shen. "It's upright, my peer is right, I can see that Lu Shen is delicious. Jin Lee, if I am still single in 5 years, it must be because of my steely strength." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Koi Fairy Wife is sweet as honey, love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Su Xiao Zheji. Chapter 86. At 7 o'clock, the 3 golden team came. Peng Fei and He Ye greeted the 3 of the silver team very readily, but Su Zai was awkward. She is very jealous of Jin Lee, but she was short-mouthed before, and now she feels embarrassed and uncomfortable. I always feel that I don't know what to look like, and I feel that no matter how she reacts, others will laugh at her. She really thinks too much. To put it mildly, Jin Lee, Lu Qingyuan, Lanting and the others, even the viewers who are watching the show, who cares about her feelings? The elusive host stepped on the spot and appeared at the scene. He held the microphone and smiled meaningfully. "I know that everyone has a lot of questions and feelings in their hearts. In order to solve your doubts, tonight, we will have a special show in the future." Special program? Jin Lee's eyes swept away, and his eyes fell behind the host, in the workbox held by the assistant's little brother. Intuition told her that the so-called special program was related to this thing. Compared with the calmness of the silver team, the golden team, which has suffered a lot in the past 2 days, naturally has more questions to ask. Su Zai cheered up. "What special program?" The host smiled mysteriously. "Don't worry, you'll know right away." Soon, the staff began to move, and a small screening screen was erected. The audience on the barrage was also aroused curiosity. Is this a video? What new tricks will the show team come up with? Curiosity, curiosity, curiosity. Host, you have an appetite, you have the ability to speak clearly. Soon, they understood something. A picture suddenly appeared on the screen. This picture is not unfamiliar. Even to the guests, it was very familiar. Several guests couldn't help sitting up straight. This familiar house, this familiar furnishings, this familiar people. Peng Fei suddenly had a bad premonition in his heart. Couldn't this be? The host understood what he wanted to ask, and answered succinctly, "Yes." Peng Fei couldn't help but exclaimed. He spent a second recalling what he did at the time, and couldn't help covering his face. "Can you guys stop being so mad?" The host smiled. "No, dear, to participate in our show, you have to be mentally prepared to be played to the death." Peng Fei. The barrage suddenly became intense. I have a bold idea. What a coincidence, I also have a bold idea. This familiar background, this familiar music, could this be? Hum ha 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 ha. The program team is really 666, waiting for the public execution. One by one, the faces of the guests became unnatural. Obviously, they have guessed what will happen next. The audience did not guess wrong. Under the dark background, is the wooden house familiar to the audience. The gloomy background music played. Soon, in the video, Peng Fei's face appeared. Peng Fei. He shouted in self-defeating, "Why is it always me who gets hurt first?" Just then, the camera zoomed in on the screen, giving him a close-up of his face. The man in the picture has a righteous face, a strong and masculine figure, and it seems that his boyfriend is full of strength. Very reliable look. And Peng Fei's face was already green. The koi fairy wife is sweet as honey, love from the koi goddess. Author, Su Xiao Zheji. Chapter 87. He looked at the coward in the video almost in desperation, holding the quilt and trembling while he didn't forget to say harsh words. The barrage is already laughing crazy. Ha 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 ha, I'm going, the program team is really lost, dry, hard, dead, sick, floating, crazy, bright. Have you seen Peng Fei's face? It's green and green, ha ha ha. Even if I followed the live broadcast for the first time, I still want to laugh when I see it again, ha ha ha. Peng Fei thought he would be laughed at by his friends, and he even closed his eyes and waited for the trial to come. But nothing happened. He couldn't help raising his eyes to look over, and found that apart from Jin Li, who was very interested, Lu Qingyuan didn't move like a mountain. Other people's faces were a bit ugly. What's the situation? Soon he understood why. After the embarrassing few minutes passed, the camera quickly shifted to the next person's room. Lu Qingyuan created calmly, Lan Ting pretended to be an ostrich shivering, he yet cried, Su Zai kept calm. After Peng Fei read this, he suddenly felt that compared to other people, he was not a particularly embarrassing one. But there was still a faint embarrassment in the air. Several people were immersed in the emotion of I just lost a lot of money, and had no intention of speaking at all. Until the camera turns to Jin Li. She was the only guest who opened the door neatly for her when she heard the female ghost knocking on the door. Little girl, aren't you afraid of me? I'm not afraid, I even have a few questions to ask you. How long have you been a ghost? How do you feel about being a ghost? Do you think it's fun? All the guests, including Lu Qingyuan, who has been calm, couldn't help but look at Jin Li. Su Zai was a little suspicious of life, why are you so calm? Jin Li felt that her question was a bit strange, she's fake, don't you know? Does Su Zai know? Of course she knew. The guests of the show group all know that ghosts are fake. But just like everyone usually goes to a haunted house, everyone knows that the scenes in the ghost are fake, but there are still many people who are scared to cry. Not to mention, the atmosphere and effects rendered by the program team are much more frightening than the haunted house in the playground. Jin Li stuffed a potato chip into his mouth and said calmly, it's just a fake ghost, what are you afraid of? What she didn't actually say was this, even if it were true, there was nothing to be afraid of. The ghost should be afraid of her. Su Zai was speechless. Su Zai continued to watch the video. Su Zai was restless. Because she not only saw that Jin Li was not frightened by ghosts, she even saw that Jin Li was frightened by ghosts. Listening to the ghostly female ghost staff on the screen, the sharp and broken voice, there is a ghost, the other 5 guests fell into silence. Why are you the same person, you are so good alone? Su Zai was even more suspicious of life. There was a faint feeling in her heart, the gap between herself and Jin Lee was bigger than she thought. As soon as this idea appeared, her resentment and sense of targeting towards Jin Lee subsided a lot. People are always jealous of people who are better than themselves. But once this excellence exceeds the limit that one can achieve, then jealousy will turn into looking up. At the same moment, Jin Lee glanced at Su's eye with a knowing look. Just now, she noticed that this woman's negative energy towards herself had dissipated a lot. The Koi fairy wife is sweet as honey, love from the Koi goddess. Author, Su Xiao Zhaji. Chapter 88. At this time, the elusive host appeared again. He looked at Su's eye and the three with a smile. I know that your gold team has never understood and dissatisfied, why is the silver team ahead of you time and time again, and enjoy such good treatment? Certainly. The three of them were shocked. Are you going to tell me the answer? The host pointed to the big screen and showed a sweet smile. No, it's here to tell you. The three of the golden team looked at the screen, and for some reason, as before, a bad feeling appeared in their hearts again. Lu Qingyuan recalled the way his team passed the level, and couldn't help but pity the three golden team members who were unaware. Sometimes, ignorance is also a kind of happiness. But the three of the gold team did not want to be ignorant. They even stared at the screen, trying to find out the gap between themselves and the silver team. But this idea didn't last long. Because they saw Jin Lee as if they were playing, they walked to unimaginable places and took out the eggs that the staff hid inside. Su's eye stared at the screen in astonishment, then turned to look at Jin Lee, who was eating nuts with a relaxed face, and couldn't help asking, have you communicated with the program team beforehand? Before Jin Lee could speak, the host retorted very seriously, guest Su's eye, please don't question the fairness of the show. We treat all guests the same, and there is absolutely no black box operation. Jin Lee nodded. The host is right, I didn't get any hints from the show crew. After she finished speaking, she felt that it was not enough, and emphasized again, even if you don't believe in the show crew, you still have to believe me. Host. Wait, is there something wrong with what you said? Jin Lee completely ignored the messy host and looked at Su's eye with a confident face. It's such a simple level, do I still need to cheat? Su's eye. Ha 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 ha, right, Jin Lee, everything you say is right. You are the fattest, you are the fattest. Look at your proud little expression. I love Jin Lee's arrogant and petite appearance of I am the most powerful in the world. The host and Su's eye both look like they don't know what to say, they die of laughter. Jin Lee, I always have a kind of ability that leaves others speechless. Since there was nothing to say, Su's eye could only choose to shut up, holding her breath and continuing to look back. What she thought in her mind was, I don't believe that you can continue to be lucky. Then, she saw an even more suffocating scene. For several hours before that, Su's eye had been thinking about this, and couldn't figure it out. Why did the silver team get to the villa so much faster than their own team without finding the bald boy to quickly clear the customs? So difficult obstacles can't be overcome by luck, right? Thinking like this, she saw Team Silver appear on the screen. Then, Jin Lee told her with cold facts that she could not only pass the level with luck, but also with strength. The huge stone, which was as wide as two of hers, was held and lifted by Jin Lee in an understatement. The wood, which was big enough for one person to hug, was kicked to the side just like it was made of plastic. The three members of the silver team passed this level with such a destructive gesture. The three members of the golden team looked at Jin Lee in astonishment as if they had seen a ghost. Su's eye couldn't help but shrink back. She regretted it a little. Why didn't you be polite to Jin Lee in the first place? She didn't think she would be stronger than those 1,000-pound boulders. Su's eye, what should I do? I'm a bit sane. Now I'm crying and hugging my thighs and calling for Jin Lee's father. Can I rescue him? Update and update, vote and vote. Good night, baby. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Koi Fairy Wife is Sweet as Honey, Love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Su Xiaozhaji. Chapter 89. Jin Li's expression was gentle. Now that we have won against you, do you have any opinions? The three of the golden team shook their heads in unison. Dare not have, dare not have. Jin Li smiled with satisfaction. It's okay to have no opinion. After all, I am a person who has always been fair. If you are not convinced, then I can only prove it again. Prove, prove. How to prove? The three members of the golden team felt that it was definitely not the way they wanted to know. The host standing on the side also looked at Jin Li cautiously. Even if I have watched the live broadcast before, but watching it again now, I still feel extremely shocked. He remembered the director's exhortation, and quickly asked, Jin Li, although you have shown amazing power in the live broadcast before, the audience has expressed that they still want to see you perform. Do you think, is it convenient? No problem, Jin Li answered cheerfully. After saying what she remembered, she looked in the direction of the camera. All the viewers who were watching the live broadcast felt that Jin Li was watching them. Just listen to her say, what my fans want, I will always try my best to satisfy. After she finished speaking, she also showed a bright smile at the camera, and even winked playfully. My God, from this moment on, my heart does not belong to me. I want to contract Jin Li for this laugh, she is mine. Why are you so warm and so beautiful? I don't think I can get out of the pit anymore. Jin Li closed her eyes in satisfaction, feeling the pure and huge golden energy surging from all directions, and smiled. She stood up and walked to Su Zai's side. Su Zai shuddered with fright, then stood up and straightened her body. Is there something? Jin Li glanced at her. Sit down. Su Zai sat down without saying a word. She didn't react until she sat on the stool. Why should I listen to her like this? Even if she is very strong and powerful, she can't do anything to me in public, right? She was thinking like this when a faint voice came from above her head. Grasp the handrail with both hands, hold on firmly. Before Su Zai could think about this sentence in her mind, her hands had spontaneously followed Jin Li's words and grabbed the armrest. The next moment, she vacated the whole body with a chair. Ah! Su Zai screamed in a low voice when he was lifted up suddenly. Then she turned back angrily and met Jin Li's calm eyes. When the frightened emotions meet ice cubes, they suddenly cool down. Only then did she focus on her own situation. At this glance, she was as quiet as a chicken. Not only Su Zai, but also the guests and host present were taken aback by Jin Li's straightforward style. Wait until you see clearly what she has done, and after the shock is over, she is terrified. I saw a slender wrist that was as delicate and graceful as white jade stretched out, and lightly held it on the back of the reclining chair Su Zai was sitting on. Su Zai, who weighed dozens of pounds, lifted them together. Those hands looked so slender and weak, you could even see the pale blue blood vessels under the translucent skin. Jin Li saw that everyone looked at him in shock, showing a look of confusion. Why are you all looking at me like this? As she spoke, she shook her wrist and threw the entire chair up. Poor Su Zai's heart was lifted, and the whole person hugged the armrest tightly and panicked. Jin Li still disliked her there. It's too light, I don't even feel it when I throw it up. Su Zai. OMMP. The Koi Fairy Wife is Sweet as Honey, Love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Su Xiaozhaji. Chapter 90. Peng Fei stared at Jin Li's hand like a ghost. With a reclining chair and a Su Zai, he can hold it, even he, who is looking at the incomparably delicate dancing boy, can hold it. But how to hold is the key. This kind of way of grasping the backrest gently and skillfully with one hand is not easy to focus at all, and it all depends on the strength of the single wrist. A wrist can bear a weight of 100 or 200 pounds, and it can be thrown up and caught, and even the veins on the arm are not visible. Incredible! How could such an unscientific thing exist? His gaze was so obvious that Jin Lee glanced at him, tilted his head, and asked slowly, "Do you want to try it too?" Peng Fei took a step back and shook his head. Jin Lee thoughtfully suggested, "Don't be afraid, even if I add another you, I have one in each hand, there is no problem." Peng Fei's tone was difficult. "No, still no, I believe in your strength very much." At this moment, Su Zai finally reacted. She shouted loudly, "Jin Lee, let me down." Jin Lee glanced at her, but did not move, but glanced at the camera, smiled and rolled her eyes. "Do you think this is okay?" The host thoughtfully took out his mobile phone and switched to the live broadcast page for the guests to see. The barrage was full of madness. Su Zai's face turned pale. However, Jin Lee's original intention was to scare her, so he let go and put Su Zai down. Su Zai ran to the side as soon as her feet landed, staying far away from Jin Lee. In her eyes, this woman is no different from the devil now. At this time, the host said with a smile, "Presumably, the guests of the Golden Team now have a clear understanding of why they are behind." The three of the Golden Team nodded quickly. The host asked again, "I heard that you are very dissatisfied with the arrangement of the Silver Team living in a villa and living in a thatched cottage." Gold Team, no. That's good. The host looked gentle. "After all, our program group is not a devil program group, everyone is very concerned about fairness and democracy. If the guests of the Gold Team have any opinions, they can talk to the guests of the Silver Team. Negotiate. If we can persuade the guests of the Silver Team to exchange with you, our program team will not interfere." 3 Golden Team. They showed strong smiles. "No, we have no dissatisfaction. We like thatched cottages very much. We can experience life and are very novel." The host then left with satisfaction. Later, this episode became the most classic in the history of the thrilling uninhabited island, and it was also the episode with the highest ratings. In the past, the two teams of guests were basically evenly matched. You win in this part, and I will come back in the next part. Only in this episode, the Gold Team was crushed by the Silver Team from the very beginning, and there was no possibility of turning over until the end of the show. Not turning over equals eating clean water and white noodles and living in a thatched hut for a week. It can be said to be very pitiful. The 7-day program came to an end soon. At the end of the recording, the program team also conducted special interviews with the two groups of guests. The Silver Trio, it's very interesting. It's very fun. Also, the chefs in the show team are very skilled. Golden Team Trio, it's a good weight loss program, and I hope the program group can be a little innovative in the future, such as adding an egg to the noodles.